So yeah, here's our picture for the day.
Right, lots of characters.
Oh yeah, mate, that'd be like the cast of Umbrella Academy.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
Yeah, and that's a segue to my first ones right off the bat, which is season 2 of Netflix's Umbrella Academy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another interview with Ryan, the author of RDB Reviews, WordPress.com. Ryan is reviewing all sorts of programs, gaming, anything he can get his hands on to watch. And Ryan has watched Umbrella Academy season number 2. Watched that back in July. And Ryan would like to talk about it today.
Season 2 of Umbrella Academy.
Probably got a good following now. Even I've watched some episodes of the first series. I vaguely understand it, but as ever, I've not watched the whole thing, so you'll need to explain it to us.
I put a spoiler-free review.
Very good. So what Ryan had to say will not interrupt your viewing of this program. Ryan has said the genre is an action-adventure drama superhero program created by Steve Blackman, developed by Jeremy Slater, and starring Ellen Page, Tom Hopper, Emmy Raver-Lattman, David Castaneda, Robert Sheehan, Aidan Gallagher, Combe Fiore, Justin H. Min, Ritu Aria, Yusuf Gatewood, and Marin Island. Ryan says he was excited for season 2. He wanted to see what's going to happen. Season 2 is incredible.
This probably going to take a little bit of spoilers from season 1 to explain this off for this season.
All right, so be aware, anyone.
If
watch all of season 1 before you watch this.
Catch up for everyone who forgot season 1. It ended with the world going to shitbill, which is the apocalypse. So the only way of saving their world is to just, instead of saving the world like normal superheroes do, they figure, let's just go back in time and save ourselves instead of saving the Earth. But in the process, each one of the members trapped in very different periods in the 1960s.
I'm aware that they went back to the 60s. There's one of the characters ends up in the Vietnam War and doesn't know how long he's been away. So I know it's about time travel.
And each one of them has gone through different points in the time period, as a different job throughout the time period, which is 3 years later. Each member of the team on different points in their lives. Some of them are like insecure and want to find their families, but the other ones, they're like, no, I enjoy my time here in the 1960s. Rebuild my life. As in quote, tall man, his goal career as an MMA fighter, like a battleground fighter. The black lady who's put in the middle of the stand up for black women, right? Activist. Ellen Page, just like a nanny to the small farming family. The weird bloke who could talk to his former partner who's dead, but his ability of speaking to the dead, which only becomes a cult leader.
Confusing.
Yeah, very confusing and weird. The best part of the season for me is how they change most of the characters in the show.
Understanding the characters from the season 1, you meet the characters that we know in this season in the first season, so they're established as characters.
Yeah.
So what they get up to in this one is a continuation of the first series.
Definitely a continuation.
What Ryan has said about the prose for season 2, it captures the different periods of the 60s perfectly. All of the characters had their own storylines going on that intertwine with each other in the middle of the team stopping the apocalypse from happening. This season was the most amusing and insane one yet. Special effects are breathtaking, and season 2 is so better focused than last season. On the cons, Ryan says certain plot lines do get dropped and not really well flesh out the villains. Just to speak on what I know about it, Ryan, I happened to be watching one episode of season 2 by chance, and it featured the Kennedy assassination and how a couple of the characters are trying to track down their dad who might be involved. And they're watching footage.
Which is like in the body of a young boy.
Clearly the character is not as young as he looks, so they inhabit the body of people in the time, do they?
Well, yeah, and also one caution of it is they actually interact with alternative characters from characters, like way before the Academy was formed. Like this one occasion, Boyd's character interacted with a older version of their dad. This is like set way before the team was formed together. One of the most main villains is probably just an evil mastermind with a head with a fishbowl.
Okay.
No, seriously, one of the villains was like, have a fishbowl on their head.
Anything goes in this program, I think, Ryan. So it involves time travel. It has a apocalyptic scenario that they're trying to offset. It has villains. If I'm right, there's also like a police force for the time traveling. You get chased up by the police if you travel through time.
Well, you got one thing right, which is they're like time traveling experts in Gray, but also the best part about this season is the Merrill family. About like this family of mythic, I would say.
Right. Are they related then? Are they brothers and sisters, cousins, loosely associated?
Brothers and sisters, definitely. Because they're like born on the same time. And trust me, this is for them to watch season 1 before watching this one. You'll be missed out on a lot.
It's just a very complicated concept.
I think that's ideal this season. It is so complicated, which I think for those able to watch last season to get ready to watch this season to keep in touch with what's going on.
Absolutely, but you would say, Ryan, that you've followed it, you've understood it fine, watching it season 1 to 2. You don't want to jump into it randomly like I have, because then it's very confusing. Who is who? What are they talking about? But if you watch it from the first episode to the end of the second season, you're going to enjoy it.
When the series is keep going, each members of the family start actually like remembering stuff from their old time, and Lord of the series is about dysfunctional family who really like find in themselves to realise this is a family, regardless of how awful their childhoods have become. Because this team is not like your typical superhero team, like the Avengers of the Justice League. But if you ask me, it's like similar to the boys. Instead of like cursing or blood like splashing out everywhere, it's about like human character interaction. But they grow up in so many different. One of them grew up half ape, half human. The other one, which is so dangerous, the dad had to isolate her for most of her childhood from the rest of the family, which I prefer me to Ellen Page's character. The other female grew up to become an actual movie and TV star. The other one, which is like a heroin addiction, and the other one, which is the heroin actor's lover, who died, and only can hear him or communicate with him from the dead. So, yeah, it's a very complicated duo.
It's incredibly complicated, Ryan. Explaining it, you're doing a good job, but it is very tough to explain because superheroes, time travel, talking to the dead, is it quite a slow burn? Because I got the impression from episodes I watched in the first series that it's not moving along very quickly. It's taking its time, delving into character, letting you think about the emotions of the character and what they're going through. It's not like the apocalypse is happening in 24 hours and we need to...
You meant to watch the first season in order to understand where these characters are going leading into the next season, which is what we're talking about right now. So yeah, it's a very complicated show with a complicated set of heroes. But the biggest character growth is Ellen Page's character, which is like she realised she's now in 1963, in the middle of nowhere, like a cornfield, realised he just like hit his head so far near the she started like hallucinating a lot, like confused of where she is or what's happening, and this farmhouse took her in, basically being the new nanny of her son.
Yeah, okay, so she has amnesia and she's taken in by this family and she's kind of looked after by them. But the big guy finds her and kind of reminds her what her quest is or why she's traveled through time. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I've seen that bit, but I didn't have a clue what was going on. I just was like, okay, it looks good. It looks really well produced. And like you say, it does the 60s really well. Clothes, the cars, the mannerisms, and the jokes. There's a lot of funny commentary about how they're from the future, but they're in the 60s. So I think it's kind of a meta culture enjoyment in the sense that you enjoy that it's got all these riffs on time travel and conspiracy theories and 1960s-ness.
It does like directly continuation from the first series, but also does really well, probably like surprising you of what's in store for season 3, which I won't spoil here, but it's definitely worth watching if you watch the first season. The main villains here, similar to the first one, it's not that like well developed, but I guess it doesn't really matter. So basically like race against time type of scenario.
Okay, even though they kind of control time. It makes me think of 12 Monkeys.
RDB.
About there's a virus that's released, killing all of humanity, and Bruce Willis is sent back in time to stop it from happening, but he keeps getting it kind of wrong. And he has the ability to keep going forwards and backwards in time. And eventually they're going to stop this terrible thing from happening by going back to the right time and talking to the right people. And it's quite comedic. And although it's about the end of the world, because there's this time travel aspect to it, you don't feel like it matters. I feel like with Umbrella Academy, they are quite free with their traveling through time. It's not like the Terminator where it's a one-way trip and you're stuck. So they seem to be able to go forwards and backwards in time quite a lot. And so time is not as relative a thing. It doesn't matter so much. It's just interesting. I think if you're a fan of 12 Monkeys, you'd be a fan of this.
I can see what you mean there, but sadly, no Bruce Willis.
No, that's okay. In fact, we don't want him because this has got a really good cast of characters already. It's about the characters. As you say, the villains are not very well defined. I don't know who the bad guys are, but I do recognize the good guys, who they are.
Probably the main villain group of killers, just masked men, which are just like trying to kill each member of the team. They were from 2019, so they sent to the past to try to murder them before coming back to their own time.
Okay.
Yeah, but the thing is they don't get a lot of character development, which in this series, they don't actually need to. We've got one specific job. Kill each member of this family before returning back to 2019.
The Umbrella Academy they're like genetically engineered by some guy, or is that the case? They're like made.
No, similar to like the evil Time Lords who set out a contract to each one of them to kill every single one of them. Most of the plot threads didn't add up. Like this black woman doesn't like lead up to anything. Like sample, this Ellen Page storyline and her lover, which is mother who took her in, they start to actually having like bonding like relationship with each other. Basically it's like having like a lesbian lover relationship, which is basically like Ellen Page, like translating most of her private life to the screen.
Right.
But also her character here is like the tortured soul of the family, the trouble of finding her place.
When you say the family, which family do you mean?
The Umbrella Academy.
So they are a family. Yeah, we've established that. But I couldn't tell whether they were invented by the person behind the Umbrella Academy or if they're actually all born as normal human beings. It doesn't matter.
Well,
can I ask this, Brian? What is Umbrella Academy? Why is it called the Umbrella Academy?
Well, the easier way I can describe it is like every single superhero team that you could possibly imagine. Like the Avengers, the Boys, the Justice League, the Seven, you name it.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're like this fun.
They all have umbrellas.
Well, no, they don't have umbrellas on their heads. But they just basically call that for a reason, which is the name of their actual academy.
Yeah.
But they don't actually call themselves Umbrella Academy. But they do call Umbrella Academy, which they do joke around a lot.
So it gets a mention. Okay, and that's sort of explained. Because it's an interesting name. It just doesn't help us understand anything about the program. I'm glad you mentioned The Boys as well, because I asked you if it was like The Boys when we were first talking about Umbrella Academy. And you were a bit dismissive. You were saying, no, it's time travel. It's not superheroes. But it's related in the sense that it's a group of characters who come together and they have a mission. And it's that mission is the underlying thing, but mostly it's about the character development.
Yeah, like my personal favourite, which is the Black Lady's arc, which is, no, I don't want to go back 2019 in order to save the world. I want to stay here in 2063. Boy, confusing. No, they don't want to go back over there. I would love having a life here. So no, my life is here when I start a family. But her husband, remotely devastated that she was from a different time before she meets her in the first episode.
That's quite a long developed storyline or character story.
Yeah, which it does feel so emotional because the two actors solved feelings. Oh no, stay together.
Right, that's good to know. So definitely catch this from the beginning if you can, because it's very character driven. It's not that it's confusing plot line, you'll miss it, but you understand the characters and why it matters, why the characters matter if you watch it from the very beginning. Okay, thank you, Ryan. That's really well explained.
Yeah, so I think season 2 is actually a fantastic conclusion. Fantastic season 2, an incredible season 2, which I highly recommended.
Yeah, and it was much anticipated.
Yeah.
That's good.
But I recommend binge watching the first season in order to watch this season, which are all on Netflix.
I'm getting through The Boys myself at the moment, but maybe I'll turn my attention to Umbrella Academy. It reminds me as well of American Gods, which I read as a book. It's a Neil Gaiman book, and it was a TV series some years ago. And I found that a bit impenetrable because it's all about character, and it's very loose about where they're going and what their purpose is. And I felt like Umbrella Academy was similar. If you don't know who the characters are and what they're doing, it's quite a boring watch because it's all about the interactions between the characters. It's almost like a soap opera. And if you don't know who you're looking at, then it can be quite boring. So definitely catch it from the beginning would be my advice.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And
cool.
Now, going from the incredibleness of Umbrella Academy Season 2 to the bland and what a mess of a show, which is Curse.
Okay. Moving from the wonderful Umbrella Academy, as Ryan says, to Curse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is another in Arthur.
Created by Frank Miller of Sin City fame. A fantasy serial drama adventure action, according to Ryan. Produced by Frank Miller, Tom Wheeler and Layla Gerstein. Based on Cursed by Frank Miller and Tom Wheeler. The plot: armed with mysterious powers and the legendary sword, young rebel Nimue joins forces with charming mercenary Arthur on a mission to save her people. Ryan says he was interested to watch this show to see what it's all about. The series was a bit of a mess. Production design looked pretty good for what it's worth. Some of the acting did a good job for what they were given, and the mixed race bending with certain characters didn't bother me that much. Cons: they didn't explain what's happening in the show that well. Once scenes do get too comfortable. A lot of the action in this series is sloppy at times, and the show was very hard, sit flow, most of the lazy storytelling. Underwhelming. You say it looks pretty good, but it's not made, not put together very well.
Yeah, like, I'm going to say Game of Thrones. That one is far bigger.
Yeah. Is it that kind of thing? Swords and sorcery.
It's like those period with like the knight and thing. The dust and the signs are honest and look good. You're running like an actual cottage. I think it's just like a new spin of the King Arthur, which instead of the actual King Arthur, it's all just Arthur in this narration. The main character is a female.
See, from the production locations, deep cut England and Wales. So it's filmed in the UK.
Yeah.
So it's trying to keep that Go on, the King Arthur thing. Yeah, go on.
Yes, keep the production actually looks pretty good for what it's worth. It feels like walking near like an actual village.
You were saying the sets are impressive.
Yeah. And I thought the acting was not the best like Umbrella Academy did, but it was really, really close to be like all blooming cheesy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I think the only like actors I care for were the main lead, the actress from 13 Reasons Why. She, in terms of costume designs and prosthetic design, she do look like definitely someone who's born to be a queen and probably a young warrior. Looks so bland and just unforgettable. Yeah.
I'm with you. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a shame. Then again, we seem saturated with these types of programs or films. I mean, we've got Mulan out at the moment on Disney, which is very loose with its history.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I'm not going to because it costs like 20 quid just to watch a film. That's an insult to me. Disney has enough money. But this is Americans doing fantasy in ye olde England, and that can sometimes fall flat as well. I wanted to say with Frank Miller, pretty good at the visual, but don't rate him as a film director.
I think he's like one of the main creators and probably one of the voice of reasons for this show.
So he kind of got it rolling. It's directed by a host of people. But for you, it was bland, probably a bit cheesy, and you've seen it before, do you think?
Well, yeah. As in, like, look at Frank Miller now. The only grades of fame that I'm aware of is Batman Year One and The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, which are novels that he wrote or big comic books that he produced, yeah.
So, yeah, that's Frank Miller. Making sure I get the right one right because so many people got the name Frank.
Sin City, famously in the cinema, he directed it with Robert Rodriguez, and they got in trouble for having two directors. I can't think. He did a movie on his own with a character that he's a big fan of.
Watchmen.
That's Alan Moore. Spirit, that's right, The Spirit. So Frank Miller was a big fan of The Spirit, which is Will Eisner character, and he made it into a film, which I saw at the cinema, which wasn't great. But frankly, Frank Miller is not a great film director. He's a good comic artist and story writer, but if I see his name nowadays, I'm a bit like, skeptical. Anyway, you watch this, it's not even worth making fun of. It's just not great.
Nah, looks like this one of those programs that people, when you first watch it, you're like, well, that takes most out of my time and my busy schedule.
Yeah.
Really. But probably nothing that people will probably remember after the series is over with.
The Witcher, I remember us talking about that with Henry Cavill. Is that much better?
Well, yeah, like this is trying to be like another Witcher, what they did with The Witcher.
Because you were saying it has special effects and that kind of thing. So, and again, Game of Thrones knockoff, yeah.
Yeah, but at least The Witcher did have time to like get out there in terms of like promotion for it.
Okay, because I've not heard of this before you mentioning it, so yeah.
But this one, it doesn't.
I'll tell you, Ryan, the poster makes me think of Warrior Nun as well. You know, lone female protagonist.
At least they have like bright colours.
Right.
But this one doesn't.
Okay, so this one's pretty dur. Yeah, it's got to have a gimmick. And you liked that it was set in Spain, the Warrior Nun with the nuns. Yeah. But this one is a bit bland. Okay.
Yeah. Like when I said about some of the awkward moments in the show, it got a lot of few awkward moments, like when it comes to characters interacting with each other, or like Arthur and this young lady trying to have like a bonding relationship. And for some reason have like the most awkward sex scene on TV.
Okay, yep.
Because probably Hollywood can't be bothered to do those right anymore.
I see. Well, it's at the discretion of the directors how that kind of thing goes. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it, as you say, just makes you think, I'm very conscious of this.
Well, me, I have no problem with people having sex. They don't get off topic.
Basically, you're saying it didn't work. It's another example of
Oh.
how this program just didn't quite come together in the way it should have done.
Well, yeah, but like other programs like on Netflix, some occasions it does work and they don't.
And as we keep saying, there's so much out there that your pick of the litter, man. There's so much you can choose from that, as you say, your busy schedule.
So I think this is like so gone. I don't think people will probably will see this.
Ryan recommends the program at the end of his review. So for this one,
What I meant to write there was, I think those that are just curious or probably just desperately just want to watch something for the sake of just watching it, you probably won't be disappointed.
okay, but if you've got better things to do, go and do them.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay, and Ryan lists the cast and characters. There's some interesting named characters in this. So if you like a bit of Game of Thrones and a bit of English mythology, then yeah, give it a go.
Yeah. And my last one of the day
Yes.
is the long-awaited, anticipated other Transformers War Cybertron Trilogy, Chapter 1.
Ryan would like to round off today's reviewing with
Transformers Robots in Disguise.
presents Transformers War of Cybertron Trilogy Chapter 1 Siege with this fantastic graphic of the original looking characters.
Yes, indeed. And sadly, no Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, very sad. Yeah, okay.
No Shia LaBeouf, no Mark Wahlberg, and no Michael Bay.
That's such a shame. No Michael Bay. What will they do?
Well,
Based
I
on
think-
by Hasbro Tomy, written by George Christick, Gavin Heinite, Brandon M. Easton, starring a wonderful collection of European and Japanese names that you can check out on Ryan's review. The
Yeah.
plot: as the Autobots and Decepticons ravage their planet in a brutal civil war, two iconic leaders emerge in the Transformers universe's origin story. Ryan was excited for this new Transformers project because this version was loosely based on the War for Cybertron games. This first chapter of the story was great. In the prose, Ryan says they captured the conflict, Optimus Prime and Megatron, so well. I was surprised how they portrayed Bumblebee. The animation style helped make this particular series stand out from other Transformers animated media, and the voice acting do sound similar to the original voices of these characters, which is a very good thing. In the cons, Ryan says the dialogue needs a bit worked on when Chapter 2 will begin. What do you mean by that, Ryan? The dialogue needs working on for the next...
Yeah, that's what I meant. Because a lot of this is more like plot heavy, which is trying to escape in the middle of this big war with the Decepticons. It lets you know a little bit of the lore of Cybertron and the conflict between the Decepticons and the Autobots. A lot more, and yeah, the visuals look breathtaking. Definitely when it's like they are working together with anime, which this is the mix between original animation along with anime.
Well, it's always been a Japanese concept, but now it's got a kind of an anime style to it, or it's the animation style is a bit...
It's animation style.
I'm with you.
Make this one stand out, and probably a lot of people are looking forward to this one. It's naming me. First of all, you played the War Cybertron games. Have you played those games?
Oh, so you're asking? No. No, I haven't played any Transformers games.
I don't think so, is it?
So just to correct myself, it is an American company, Hasbro, but it's been given a Japanese twist. I always thought of it as a Japanese thing because most good cartoons were back in the day. Right, so these are the games that this is based on.
Yes, which is actually a slow burn series.
Right.
But from all of it, you get the complete conflict between the Decepticons and the Autobots.
Does it connect, Ryan, to the 1980s, late 80s animation movie, the feature-length Transformers film?
Well, this is set like before it, which this is not on Earth. It's on definitely 100% on Cybertron.
Okay, because my understanding is that historically their planet was destroyed in a big battle and they end up on Earth because they're kind of like refugees. So this is telling the story of that. This is setting that up.
Yeah. Which this one is Chapter 1, which
Yeah.
is like, you remember the opening from For Cybertron with the Autobots like in their like big ship, and they're like trying to escape and find new life on Earth.
It's like Battlestar Galactica. Their mission is to find a new safe haven, a new place they can call home. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, by the end, it looks like he's doing that. And this is not a very long series. This is like 6 episodes, which is based in individual chapters, which I think it deserves to be like that. It gives you more of a incredible experience, and it makes you feel like you're rooting for the Autobot to like accomplish their mission, but also understand what Megatron is each member of the team is, or understand their conflict and understand where they're coming from.
It's aimed at children.
At times, yeah, it feels like it's related definitely for kids.
Originally for the selling of toys for kids. I'm just wondering if this is for people like me who grew up with the original movie. The character design is back to the basics, back to how I like it.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if it's aimed at my generation as much as young children, as a way of saying, look, here's Transformers as you used to like it.
Yeah, it does feel like definitely aiming for all ages. Fans of the old Transformers mythology, but also train it to a new generation. Probably don't get too tossed about the Transformers. They're just a dumb kid toy commercial.
Absolutely. I was just thinking as well, Ryan, that on the back of Star Wars, so many of these programs, cartoons in the 80s were piggybacking off of Star Wars. And as a child, it all just blended together for me. So hopefully anyone can enjoy this. Whereas quick dig, the Michael Bay movies were racist and sexist and not very pleasant. I mean, even from my early 20s, I was off-put by the attitude that Michael Bay took with the Transformers films. And I just
what you mean.
didn't like it.
I can see what you mean, but you can't deny the fact there's enjoyment to be made in them, but as movies themselves, not really a great work of art.
No, not at all. They took in lots of money, but they weren't universal in the sense that I'm talking about. They weren't really made for everyone. They were made for Michael Bay and people like him. But this looks good, Ryan. So it's got a Japanese-American crossover, or Japanese-Canadian-American crossover.
Yeah, because a lot of the times, not a lot of them, but like a lot of them like pretty much like usually dies. Either some of them are probably wounded by the Decepticon impact of Cybertron, or the godfather of Cybertron itself. Some of them probably died.
It's a prequel. If it's setting up characters, then we wouldn't expect to see them all in peril.
Yeah.
But then the beginning of the movie that I'm referring to, the Transformers movie from '89, I think, is fantastic because it does kill a lot of really good characters. I think Bumblebee is like the only character that makes it out of the first act unharmed. And as a little kid, you're like, oh my God, they just killed all my favorite characters. So I'm quite pleased that they're willing to risk characters in this as well. That really gets you on the edge of your seat, you know.
Yeah. But also referencing like a few stuff from these games.
Right. So if you've played the games as well, that will help your understanding of the program. And it's probably for that fan group then. That kind of settles that. It's universal, but if you've got the games on Xbox, then this is made for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people will enjoy these ones. Like, if you play these games, you pretty much will probably appreciate this more.
Cool.
Which
So
is
nice
exclusively available to Netflix.
Okay, so program on Netflix.
It learned along with all the other Transformers animated cartoons.
They're all on Netflix, are they?
Yeah, like every single one of them.
Wow.
Including the ones from the current time. Including Transformers Prime.
Right, so it's probably a bit like your DC 52 continuity stuff. There's probably lots of Transformers cartoons that have been made since the 80s that I'm not aware of. But if they've got the original 80s series on there, I mean, I could probably get that on YouTube, but anyway, if you want to see this fantastic graphic doing its animating, you can visit this on rdbreviews.wordpress.com, and we will put a link to the topics we've discussed today in the description of this video.
Make a segue to close this.
Okay.
We're doing this.
Dun, 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 dun.
Robots in disguise. We all go back in time to 2020.
What a shame. Can't go back to 2020. What a brilliant year to relive. Oh, thank you so much for that, Ryan. And you'll send me that picture you're done, and I can put that in the video when I've edited it. All right, Ryan, thank you ever so much, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Yeah, speak again soon.
All right, bye.
Bye.